A website that can fill your entire hard drive, Java is still dang vulnerable, and new authentication for Twitter emails, and your thoughts on Obama's recent executive order. All that and more, this time on ThreatWire. Hello and welcome to ThreatWire. I'm Shannon Morse. My co-host Darren Kitchen is still hacking his way across Europe as usual. And this is your summary of what's threatening security, privacy, and internet freedom. And we'll begin with Darren. Take it away.
Thanks, Shannon. Now, there's a bug found in the HTML5 implementation of local storage function. It's kind of a fun one. Now, code posted to the web by the security researcher Feroz Abu Khadja. I'm totally mispronouncing that. Anyway, he's demonstrated the vulnerability in the local storage function by filling a hard drive just with one click, just by accessing a website. Now, the local storage function in HTML5 allows website operators to store relatively large amounts of data as compared to, say, a cookie file, which is only 4 kilobytes. This allows them to store somewhere around 5 megabytes. I haven't rocked a 5 megabyte hard drive since the 80s, and actually this kind of reminded me of some of the viruses or pranks from that era. Now, the W3C specification for local storage states that the user agent should limit the amount of storage for that particular website. It really depends on the browser's implementation. See, Chrome, for example, allows up to 2.5 megabytes, while Internet Explorer a hefty 10 megabytes. And now, the specification creators actually anticipated potential abuses in future where a site operator might try to use subdomains, for example, 1.filldisk.com, 2.filldisk.com, 3.filldisk.com, each zone having its own quota, and so on. So this, though, is actually ignored by Chrome, by Safari, and by IE. So if you visit filldisk.com with one of those browsers, it will do exactly that. It will fill your entire hard drive with garbage. If you're using Firefox, you're safe for now. Bug reports have been filed with the respective parties, and I bring this up because it's an interesting example of full disclosure. And with that, there's a party happening over here in the river in Amsterdam, river, canal, whatever. And I'm going to kick it back over to you before I get eaten alive by whatever those are. Back to you, Shannon. Seriously, what the hell is going on here?
Thank you very much, Darren. Now, Microsoft. They have joined that group of recent companies that have been hacked. The Microsoft Security Response Center website states that the cyber attacks are similar to those that affected Apple and Facebook, and that their investigation is ongoing, but no customer data was compromised. Now, this comes on the heels of another security breach from Zendesk, a customer service desk tool for companies to use. Zendesk states on their company blog that they believe the hacker downloaded email addresses of customers who had contacted 3 different Zendesk customers for support. These companies include Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest, one of whom I actually personally received an email from regarding this breach. Now, no other Zendesk companies have been affected, according to their investigation. Now, due to those recent breaches that Twitter has been dealing with, they now have introduced DMARC for Twitter emails. Twitter sends several emails to companies, and now those can be authenticated by this security protocol, which helps email domains like Gmail and Hotmail and whatnot flag forged emails that are said to come from Twitter.com and go out to their customers. Now, while this is not currently used by all email providers, Twitter does hope that this will gain momentum in the near future and provide a safer experience for their customers. Now, I'm still hoping for 2-factor authentication, and we haven't heard anything much about that yet. And now, back to Darren.
Thanks, Shannon. Now, once again, Java has been owned, or at least this is what's being reported by Polish security firm Security Explorations, which has reported a proof of concept code over to Oracle, the Java vendor. Now, this follows Java vulnerabilities which have become very popular recently, perhaps most notably used in an attack against Facebook claiming that no user data was compromised in this, but it leads many to question Java's use, especially in the enterprise environment. Now, home users have been advised to, say, disable Java completely, the plugin in their browsers, but that may not work in corporations that rely on Java-based intranet software or collaboration software like WebEx. And security researcher Rob Fuller, aka Moobix, pointed out on Twitter the following idea, quote, "Want to block most Java attacks? Whitelist the Java user agent at your perimeter to be allowed only to approved sites." Now, Moobix goes on to walk the walk, demonstrating a technique for whitelisting with a squid proxy at the firewall level, as well as demonstrating the attack and defense. Though he does point out that this would not work for HTTPS. That, of course, would require the attacker to use HTTPS and potentially giving more information about said attacker. So still, very interesting. Walkthrough can be found over at room362.com. My advice, of course, to home users or anybody who can get away with doing this, set up either no script or not script plugins in your browsers. Those go ahead and prevent not just Java, but JavaScript, Flash, Silverlight, and other plugins from automatically running in your browser. And with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it right back to you, Shannon. Thanks.
Now, last week we asked how you feel about Obama's executive order, and our comment of the week comes from Rusty Greer. He says vagueness is their way of being able to do whatever they want. Think of the terrorist act that they passed that allows them to do anything they pretty much darn well please if they deem it terrorist activity. This is the same thing with CISPA. Leaves room for ambiguity so that when it comes down to brass tacks, they can play around in a gray area. This is how the government always works. Now, Darren, what is our question this week?
This week, we'd like to know how you feel about disclosure. Given that there are a few different models to choose from as a security researcher, you might want to go with full disclosure, where the details of a vulnerability are immediately disclosed, as well as how to exploit it. Responsible disclosure, which is kind of where you coordinate with the vendor and choose a time frame on when to release, or anti-sec, who kind of feels that the first two are all about the security industry profiting and rather just keep that stuff to themselves. Either way, given the most recent example, which is sort of harmless with PhilDisk, or our previous example of the Canadian student who was expelled from his university for disclosing, I want to know how you feel. Does it really depend on the circumstance, or do you have strong feelings one way or the other? Let us know in the comments.
Now remember, you can always find ways to subscribe over at threatwire.org, and make sure to get involved in our Google Plus community. That's where the conversation continues all week. And with that, I'm Shannon Morse, and for Darren Kitchen, we'll see you on the internet.